I'm ready.
All
right, welcome everybody to the Yankee Chronicles. This is the Roundtable, episode 7. I am here with Laura and Camilla, and we are going to be discussing various topics on the New York Yankees. And for today, we will be discussing various, a specific topic that has gone on in Major League Baseball as a whole. So, Laura, if you would like to introduce yourself for a crowd that may not know you.
Sure, sounds good. My name is Laura Eismont. I'm a huge Yankee fan. I live about 60 miles north of the city, and just being on Yankees Twitter the past 3 seasons now, it's just been very incredible. Met so many new people, and I'm excited to be on this episode.
And Camilla, if you want to reintroduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. Hi, I'm Camilla Graff, and currently I'm based in Europe, but under normal circumstances, I'd be in New Jersey, about maybe 45 minutes from Yankee Stadium. So big Yankees fan since I was a kid. And you can find me on Twitter at YP Viking.
Okay. And also you can follow Yankee Chronicles at Yankee Chronicle on Twitter, and you can follow us through our website, yankeechronicles.com. As well as if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like, share, and you can also find this on audio through Spotify. Okay. And the first question I would like to ask you, Laura, is the Marlins recently hired their first female GM. What did that mean to you to see that the females were finally breaking the glass ceiling in sports?
It meant so much to me seeing her being hired, because looking at her resume from her previous jobs as being assistant with the Yankees and then also working with the White Sox too, just to name a couple, she was more than qualified to get the GM position for the Marlins. And also just to see her come full circle, starting at the Yankees when Derek Jeter was playing, and now he was hiring her to be part of his team. It just meant the world to me as a baseball fan. And then also too, it opened so many doors to females who are looking to work in the baseball field, whether it be as statistics or eventually work their way up to a managerial or GM position. So I think it opened so many opportunities, and it made for females who want to work in baseball that their dreams are more of a reality than they have been before.
I think it's a very positive move, very progressive, but well deserved. She didn't get the job just because of her being a female. She worked her way through the system and really deserved this chance, and I hope that she does well. And I know under Derek Jeter, he'll give her as much support as she needs. Camilla, do you mirror the same feelings as Laura?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was over the moon with this hire. I mean, Kim Ng is more than qualified for this job. She's as qualified as any man, probably more than most of them at this point. And this is, she's a University of Chicago graduate. With this vast resume of experience. She's just super smart, and leave it to Derek Jeter. He's such a great guy to just break that barrier and just be like, it's time, because it's past time. And I'm really glad, that a former Yankee was the one to do that.
Me too.
Because I think in such a male-dominated sports world, like baseball, because it is traditionally a men's sport. It does take some guts to say, "Hey, other teams, look at me! I'm going to hire a female GM." And I'm sure that some of the other teams are probably talking behind his back a little bit, like, "Oh, he's hiring a female GM. That's kind of weird." But I mean, this is great, and I think that we're gonna continue to see maybe more females in positions, even positions down on the field, like trainers and maybe some assistant coaches or stretching coaches, things like that. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I understand. I don't know the exact positions, but I know that they have a female coach, female referee, or a line judge, whatever their title is in football or the NFL. They have a assistant GM that was a female in the NBA, I believe. So it's good to see that things are starting to be more inclusive and not more of the just the guys club.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
definitely.
think that's very important. Do you feel that this is just the beginning? Do you see in the future where athletes that are female are going to have that window to break into a major league sport? I think baseball is one that might be the easiest route, but I do see that happening sometime in the future. How would you feel about that, Laura?
That's, I think this is like a good start, like to getting the feet wet, like for people who want to like eventually be in, Major League Baseball, like females want to be in Major League Baseball. Like this, like just a good start. Like, and bringing up to your point before, the Toronto Blue Jays actually had a female athletic trainer with them at one point
Okay.
too. Yeah, remember, I think her name was Nikki. But anyway, back to the point. But she like definitely stepped that foot in, and same thing with Kim. Like just any position, like it opens the door for so many females to say, "Hey, I want to become a GM one day," or "Hey, I want to work in Major League Baseball," and just seeing that door open, like being wide open for them, like it gives them pretty much hope. And I think we could see more, like probably within the next 5 to 10 years, like more females taking those positions.
Camilla, when you might remember when Jenny Finch was a very famous softball player.
Yes.
That's when I started to get that feeling that in baseball is where you would see that unisex type of roster. Do you still see that as a possibility?
I do. Maybe not next year, maybe not the year after, but eventually I do. Remember, we had women playing baseball during World War II.
Well,
They
Oh,
made
yeah.
that, remember that whole movie about it, which is, a great little flick. But women did all kinds of things. And then, everybody came home from World War II and it went back to being, okay, women do this and men do this. But women have played baseball before, so it wouldn't be, their first rodeo. I mean, you look at some of these softball players like Jenny Finch. I mean, they're monsters. They're just, I mean,
really,
try to hit her.
yeah.
And I think that that training now in women's sports is now the equivalent to men's sports. I remember back in the Jurassic era when I was in high school. I mean, it literally was the dinosaur age. I ran cross country and I remember, the girls team always had the shorter race than the boys. So the boys race was like over 3 miles and the girls race was like 2.8 miles or something, because, the girls couldn't run as far as the boys, right? But now I believe that, at least in my daughter's school, everyone's just running the same race. Everyone's running the same amount of mileage or kilometers, if you will. So things have changed, and the training for women's sports has now become as rigorous as the training for men's sports. So there's I guess a narrowing of the gap, if you will. And I think it's going to take some years, but I think it's going to happen. I think I think it's going to happen eventually. And I think that when it does happen, you're going to see an expansion of the fan base as well, which is good for business.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
In regards, you have the WNBA,
Yep.
women's soccer. Yeah, maybe now is the time you brought up, with the movie A League of Their Own. Maybe now is the time to reintroduce a women's baseball club. Where if they have their own league, where they can show their ability and their athleticism, their showmanship, their sportsmanship. I really think that this is that time that they can really, for lack of a better term, capitalize on a strong
Absolutely.
woman, where they can reintroduce that, where it'll have just as much success, if not more, than it did during World War II.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there are plenty. There's plenty of athletes that can fill rosters. And athletes. The product is good enough, and everything is there. Like they portrayed in the movie, which was very accurate to what was going on in that time. It will put fans in the seats.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think
it'd be a great business decision.
It would
also help the strength of the WNBA. They're the ones that really push to have that all-female league. I think MLB would be doing everybody a good service to reintroduce a all-female baseball league.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely.
I'd love to see it. Yeah,
I would love to as well.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It'd be so fun.
It would be.
Laura, I know this is your first time with us, and Yankee, on behalf of Yankee Chronicles, we really thank you for your time. I just want to give you a moment to give us your thoughts with the New York Yankees. Everybody is waiting to see when LeMahieu is going to be re-signed. Is there anybody else on the market that you feel should, besides from LeMahieu, because that's the given?
Yeah.
What other free agent do you feel would be a good fit for this team and keep it, the nucleus together?
It's a good question. Well, I kind of told, Mike Scudero has his Yapping Yankees podcast.
Yes.
So he had mentioned about his question that's going to be on later today. What else, should the Yankees do besides obviously resigning DJ LeMahieu? And I've been kind of saying this all off season long, but the Yankees definitely need another starting pitcher, probably a number 2 starter. In a sense, I mean, they want to go for Bauer, they can. I kind of don't see him signing with the Yankees.
Do you see them maybe going more for a Charlie Morton?
Yeah, maybe Charlie Morton, a 1-year or 2-year deal for Charlie Morton. That's my first guess for that. And then also they need to sign a couple of relief pitchers to replace, Tommy Kahnle, since now he's going to be out until 2021 with his Tommy John surgery. And then if the off chance, because I've seen people saying, oh, maybe the Yankees should trade Ottavino or some move around like that.
I think Ottavino on the trade block would be a mistake.
I think so too. Yeah, they definitely need his arm, more than anything. And then one more thing I was thinking about was kind of another bat like DJ LeMahieu, maybe Tommy La Stella, someone like that, where they power contact hitter in a sense.
With the window that the Yankees have had, do you feel that the opportunity is already gone for them to capitalize on these baby bombers with Judge and Sanchez, Torres, Severino, or do they still have a big enough window where they can still go on another big run where they could sustain World Series appearances for years to come? Or is that window just about closed?
I'd say the window is still open, but it's not as wide open as it was back in 2017, 2018. Just because now that Judge, Torres, Sanchez, they've been in the major leagues for so many seasons now. The reason why I say it's still slightly open is because you have Garcia and then Clark Schmidt still, developing. So they could become our potential starting pitchers down the road. But the window for that, it's starting to slowly shut down, but it's not as wide open as it was like back in 2017, I'd say.
Now, Camilla, but there's a big trade rumor, amongst the fans, or trade speculation that they need to go and trade for Lindor. If they trade for Lindor, that would move Torres back to second base. At that point, where do you think LeMahieu would best serve as a Yankee?
I think LeMahieu is one of those kids who could learn how to play any position, honestly. He's a tremendous hitter, right? So you need his bat. But I think with coaching and I think that he could learn to play any position. I think that everybody talks about his discipline, right? And how he's so serious about everything. This is a kid who, if you said, okay, we need you to play third, we need you to play first, we need you to play, he'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to devote all of my mental and physical resources to learning how to do this the best that I can, because this is the type of kid that he is. So I think if they lose out on a person like this, I think it's insane, because I think he's one of those versatile guys. You can train him to play anything and he'll do really well at it. And plus he always, he has his at-bats, which are really good in most cases. So, if they trade for Lindor, fine. But, I think their first priority should be getting, DJ back on the field in any position they can train him to do anything.
For sure.
And then, Laura, just one last question before you wrap things up. The job that Cashman has done, do you feel that another missed World Series warrants him to remain as a GM, or is his time come and gone, and it's just time for a new voice to construct this roster?
That's a good question. I still think like he's still the person for the Yankees for the time being, just because like we still have the young players like Garcia and Schmidt still in the minors. But I think maybe within like the next 5 to 10 years though, like if we don't win another World Series, then you got to start thinking, okay, where on the top do we start to make these changes? So I think eventually it's going to have to happen at some point where they're going to need a new head person to run the club in that sense. But for right now, I'd say he's still safe with the Yankees.
Yeah, Camilla, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think what Laura said is true. I think that, let's see how this past season was so unusual because of the pandemic. It's hard to kind of really judge the decisions that were made because it was such an off year. You only had like 60 games. It was just, so I think we kind of need another couple of seasons to really see. And if nothing comes of it, then yeah, get some fresh folks in, get a fresh GM, fresh manager, fresh whatever. It's always good to shake things up, but not too soon. Yeah. Because then you lose out. Then you lose out on the knowledge that people have accumulated and can really put toward making the team good. But yeah, so we'll see.
I agree with Laura. I think like a 5-year window. If nothing's happened, and not even just Brian Cashman. Randy Levine. The two of them just might need to step aside and get a fresh voice into the organization. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the years develop now that the second wave of the baby boomers are on their way up. Like when Laura mentioned with Schmidt and Garcia. Michael King. Jason Dominguez, Esteban Florial, Tyro Estrada. There's a whole other wave of players coming up, and they've all come through Cashman. So it's, the Stick Michaels generation, they're all gone now. So this is all on Cashman. This is his roster on the major leagues and in the minor leagues. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go over the next few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see how he does with it.
Yeah. So we're going to close this up. Laura, we want to thank you very much for joining us. We hope you return to us very soon.
Thank you for having me. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah. Camilla, again, thank you and for joining us today.
Of course.
Yep. And on behalf of YankeeChronicles.com, we want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And you just remember, be safe, be smart. On behalf of Yankee Chronicles, I'm Bobby Ryan. Have a good night.
Bye.